This is Providence Television International, the game changer. Stand by for the next program.
Worst drought in century devastates Southern Africa, millions at risk, and U.S. threaten Israel but deploys troops, revealing policy inconsistency. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the World News on Providence Television International. My name is Edna Caesar Garrick. Now the details. Millions of people across Southern Africa are going hungry due to historic drought, risking a full-scale humanitarian catastrophe. The UN has warned Lesotho, Malawi, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe have all declared a state of national disaster in the past month as the drought has destroyed crops and livestock. Angola and Mozambique are also severely affected. The UN's World Food Programme, WFP, said in a briefing on Tuesday, warning that the crisis is expected to deepen until the next harvest in March of April 2025. Tens of millions of people in the region rely on small-scale agriculture, irrigated by rain for their food and to make money to buy provisions. Aid agency warned of a potential disaster late last year as the weather phenomenon led to below average rainfall across the region. Its effects have been intensified by rising temperatures linked to climate change. In July, UN officials said it was the worst drought to hit the region in a century. It has wiped out 70% of the harvest in Zambia and 80% in Zimbabwe. WFP's acting regional director for Southern Africa, Lola Castro, said the lack of rain has also slashed hydropower capacity in the region, leading to long electricity cuts, while Zimbabwe and Namibia have announced wildlife calls to relieve pressure on resources. Authorities in Namibia and Zimbabwe have resorted to killing wildlife, including elephants, to provide meat for hungry people. Scientists say sub-Saharan Africa is one of the most vulnerable parts of the world to climate change because of its high dependency on rain, fed agriculture and natural resources. Millions of African livelihoods depend on the climate, while poor countries are unable to finance climate resilience measures. Experts have warned that climate change induced drought and irregular rainfall patterns are negatively affecting the yield, development, taste, and harvest periods of various crops. The United States deployment of an anti-missile system to Israel plus 100 soldiers to operate is come at the same that is saying it will stop military aid to Israel in compliance with a U.S. law that prohibits military supporting countries that block humanitarian aid, as Israel is doing in Gaza. It also raises questions about the legality of U.S. involvement at a time when the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden is facing growing backlash over its support for Israel. Two recent developments: the Sunday announcement that the U.S. will deploy troops to Israel, and a letter sent by U.S. official the same day calling on Israel to improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza or face unspecified consequences, underscore the inconsistent approach of an administration that has effectively done little of substance to rein in Israel's ever-widening war. At a press briefing on Tuesday, State Department spokesman Matthew Miller declined to say what the consequence of Israel failing to comply with U.S. requests would be or how this differs from an earlier unfulfilled threat by the Biden administration to withhold military aid to Israel. At least 10 Indian flights have received HOA's bomb threat over the past 48 hours, leading to long delays and diversions. On Tuesday, Singapore Air Force sent two fighter jets to escort an Air Indiana Express plane away from populated areas following a bomb threat. Hours before that, an Air Indian plane from Delhi to Chicago had to land at a Canadian airport as a precautionary measure. HOA's bomb threats to airlines are not unusual in India, but it's not clear what triggered the sudden surge since Monday. Officials from the Government Directorate General of Civil Aviation and Bureau of Civil Aviation Security did not respond to the comment. Apart from Air Indiana, Indigo, SpiceJet and Asaka Air Flight also received threats on Tuesday. 7 flights, including the 2 airlines planes, were affected by the threat issued by another, which has now been suspended. Air India said in a statement that it was cooperated with authorities to identify the people behind the threat and would consider legal action to recover damage incurred. Every Indian airport has a bomb threat assessment committee which assesses the gravity of threat and takes actions accordingly. A threat can lead to involvement of the bomb disposal squad, sniffer dogs, ambulances, police and doctors. Passengers are offloaded from the plane along with cabin baggage, check-in baggage and cargo, and they are all screened again. Engineering and security team also search the plane before it is cleared for flying again. The restaurant delay can cost thousands of dollars in damages to airlines and security agencies. If you are just joining us, this is the world news on Providence Television International. In the aspiring slum of the once glorious Grenade Hotel in Mozambique, Breta City, around 4,000 people living in squalor hope this month's election will bring change. Most of the scattered election posters on the Blecken building call for vote for the long-ruling socialist Frelimo party for the polls that took place last week. A few back the opposition center, Right Mozambique Democratic Movement MDM, which has controlled the Beira municipality from the past 20 years. Results are due later this month and expected to keep Frelimo in charge of the impoverished Southern African nation, which has governed since the end of Portuguese half a century ago. The hotel, with spilling views of Indian Ocean, mirrors the desperation of Mozambique, where around 75% of the 33 million people live in poverty and the wounds of 16 years civil war are still raw. The hotel's crumbling wall has scrawled with graffiti. Its furniture, windows and features are long gone, while grass grows in its Olympic-sized swimming pool just steps from the sea. The people squatting there are desperate for a better life. The hotel and its grand staircase were built in the Art Deco style in the 1950s, where Mozambique was still a colony of the Portugal. It was abandoned by its owners in 1974 as the Portuguese left following 10 years of war, led by Frelimo. Away from the foreign scene now, back home, the federal government has been urged to establish more farm settlements across the country in a drive to improve food security. The call was made by veteran broadcaster and media entrepreneur Dr. Emmanuel Igariba during an exclusive interview session on Providence Television International to mark this year's World Food Day celebration. Dr. Igariba stressed that the establishment of such farm settlements will not only improve large-scale farming, it will also be an avenue for job creation across the country. He noted that borders should temporarily be thrown open to allow importation of food items as a means to complement the efforts of local farmers in the food production. He called on faculties of agriculture and all universities across Nigeria to contribute to the food security process by establishing farms and engaging its students in farming activities.
People, and let me also quickly say this, our departments or faculties of agriculture should do a lot more. There is no reason why each faculty of education of agriculture in Nigeria should not have a huge farm. The land is there. Look at Uniben, for instance. I was saying it the other day, I told some of my professor friends, the faculty of agriculture there should have expanse of land around the area. That will serve many purposes. For people who are reading crop science and all that, go there. There should even be a department cited there.
October 16th every year is a day set aside by the United Nations to mark World Food Day, with this year's theme as Right to Food for a Better Life and Better Future. The Naira has been listed among the worst performing currency in sub-Saharan Africa in 2024, according to the new report by the World Bank. As of the end of August 2024, the Naira had depreciated by approximately 43% year to date, making it one of Africa's weakest currencies alongside the Ethiopian birr and South Sudanese pound. The depreciation of the Naira is attributed to several factors, including surging demand for the United States dollar in the parallel market, limited dollar inflows, and delay in foreign exchange disbursements by Nigerian Central Bank. The World Bank's report further stated that demand for dollars, driven by financial institutions, non-financial end users, and money managers, had worsened the pressure on the Naira. Criticisms have trailed the signing into law of the Anambra Local Government Administration Law 2024 by Governor Chukwuma Soludo on Tuesday. Governor Soludo of Anambra State said the law was necessitated by the fact that granting absolute autonomy to the 774 local government areas was a recipe for chaos and would not lead to sustainable development. At a press briefing shortly before signing the law at the Governor's Lodge in Aquino on Tuesday, Soludo insisted that Section 7 of the Constitution empowered the state government to enact enabling laws for the administration to respect local government areas across the country. He emphasized that the two legislations passed by the State Assembly ought to achieve consistency, enhance transparency, and collaboration among tiers of government. A fire incident early this morning along the Ibadan axis of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway triggered by petrol tanker fire has destroyed vehicles worth millions of naira, as well as houses and animals, leaving residents in a state of panic. The fire began when the tanker loaded with petrol overturned in front of a commercial bank located along the Ibadan section of the expressway. Eyewitness disclosed that the driver of the tanker was suspected to have fallen asleep at the wheel, causing him to lose control, which led to the tanker's fall and eventual explosion. The Nigerian Customs Service Apapa Area Command has intercepted 40 full containers of illicit drug valued at 1.18 billion naira, about to be smuggled into the country. The command's public relations officer Usman Abubakar disclosed this in a statement this morning. He explained that the seizures comprise 236,783 bottles of cough syrup containing codeine and Bacardine cough syrup, packed in 2,174 cartons from two terminals within the command. The federal government banned the importation of codeine cough syrup in 2018 following its widespread abuse and the detrimental effect it had on many youth who became addicted to it. With that report, we've come to the end of the world news. But before we go, a recap. We brought you the story. We say that at least 10 Indiana flights have received was bomb threats over the past 48 hours, leading to long delays and diversion. On Tuesday, Singapore Air Force sent 2 fighter jets to escort an Air Indiana Express plane away from populated areas following a bomb threat. We also told you that the United States deployment of an anti-missile system to Israel brought 100 soldiers to operate. It comes at the same that is saying it will stop military aid to Israel in compliance with the U.S. law that prohibits military supporting countries that blocked humanitarian aid, as Israel is doing in Gaza. And finally, millions of people across southern Africa are going hungry due to a historic drought, risking a full-scale humanitarian catastrophe. The United Nations had warned Lesotho, Malawi, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe have all declared a state of national disaster in the past months as the drought had destroyed crops and livestock. That's our package. Thanks for watching. Edna Zagaric is my name. Good afternoon.